You're right. You say he will be lashed by anti-immigrant opponents and he will be lashed by pro-immigrant friends as deporter-in-chief until he takes bold action. He is unlikely to be a popular guy anytime soon. And to that I will say, you know, we've seen so far in his presidency, this is just not in his nature to get ahead of the situation beforehand. He likes to let the dust settle to see where, you know, public opinion falls. That might work if you're a lawyer, but if you're commander-in-chief, you're in a bad situation.
Well, I think he's in a bad situation on this, and I think that's partly why we have such a big proposal. I think he wants this to be a big problem. I think he wants to be such a big problem right now that Congress has to deal with it, and that the media is focused on it, and that the American public is focused on it. I think he needs this border issue out of the way before he can deal with anything about deportations or easing the plight of immigrants who've been here for a long time.
Well, and Frank, to that point, there was much drama about whether or not the president would meet with Rick Perry. Would there be a handshake? No, we're not going to just do a handshake. We need a meeting. Then they had a meeting. But I actually think the positioning that he came out of that meeting with was pretty smart, essentially saying Rick Perry's on board with taking action. Now Washington needs to get its act together, playing the sort of red state governors against the Republicans in Washington. Is that going to work to help put pressure on Congress?
Well, you know, I think he actually has some native allies in Congress on this in the Republican Party. And, you know, he's talked about whether people want to solve the problem or people want to exploit the politics of it. If you look at the Republican leadership in the House and Senate, probably they want to exploit the politics of this clear through November and beyond if they can.
Right.
But the Republican Party has a very serious chunk of nativists in it that really do not want to have more immigrants coming over the border.
And the president's proposing a lot of border security
money. That's right,
here.
and he is appeasing them, and they have an interest in seeing this stop because they really care more about that than they care about beating up on the president, at least on this issue, I think.
Right. Yeah, and there's also an expiration date on their current stupid talking point of the moment, which is go to the border, go to the border. Okay, he didn't. Deal with it. He didn't go to the border.
Right.
Now what do you have?
What now?
Right? And we showed some of that sound there. Speaker Boehner saying take responsibility. I mean, this is amazing coming from an individual who will not allow votes on the floor of the House.
Right.
To have whatever it might be, a Republican proposal, a Democratic proposal, the president's put out a proposal. Let's have all the votes. Let's see what can happen. That is the ultimate abdication of his constitutional responsibility there as Speaker of that august institution. In your article, I did want to ask you, you quote a famous maxim originally from Dwight Eisenhower: if you can't solve a problem, enlarge it. Don Rumsfeld also liked to say that. What do you mean by that in this context for the president?
Well, I think first of all, as I said, he needs to focus a lot of attention on this. And I think, frankly, that is part of the reason that we saw a surprise in the amount of money he's asking for. He almost doubled the amount of money that the White House itself had led people to expect was going to be asked for. So I think he wanted a big splash. I think he wanted a big story. And I think he needs a big story and a big splash in order to force a resolution of the border. And he needs to get the border situation with the unaccompanied children out of the way, or at least resolved to some degree, some stability there, before he can turn to a lot of people who've been living in this country for a long time, and where the real pressure is from immigration activists, which is stop the deportations, give people a break like you did with deferred action for young people and students.